Hunter x Hunter is a great series, and I want to know why that is. In order to find out, I think I'll need to read more than just Volume 1. Seeing as I saved a bit of money, I went ahead and got the rest of the series. So, for the next 37 days, I'll be reading a volume every single day. This is my journey with Hunter x Hunter.
Alright, July 1st, 8:11 p.m.
This was technically my second time reading Volume 1. I have to say, reading the entire volume in one sitting is way better than reading it in a span of 8 weeks. I still consider it a slow burn, but it's a lot of good build-up as Gon makes his way to the Hunter exam.
One volume down. Okay, day 2.
Day 2 was much better than day 1. Yesterday, my camera fell a few times, which distracted me from reading. Today, however, I was able to put all my attention into Volume 2 thanks to this tripod I got for my camera. Now, when I read a new series, I always wonder how long it will take for me to become a fan. To all you Hunter x Hunter enthusiasts watching this, I'm here to say that it only took me 2 volumes to enjoy the series. If I were to put it into words, Volume 1 felt like the steep climb to a roller coaster, while Volume 2 was the drop, twists, turns, and loops. It was thrilling from beginning to end. Interestingly enough, since I'm reading Hunter x Hunter for the first time in 2025, the contents of Volume 2 reminded me of things I enjoyed in other series. Part 2 of the Hunter exam focused on cooking. So not only was this unexpected, it reminded me of the cooking camp in Food Wars. There's also Gon and Killua trying to get the ball from Netero. I couldn't help but think about the bell test from Naruto. Putting the similarities to the side, I also get to see not only Hisoka being a menace, but how dangerous Killua actually is. With the third phase of the Hunter exam in full swing, I can't wait for Volume 3.
It's day 3!
With day 3, it still takes me about an hour to read a volume, but I am getting faster. It was a bit noisy, but that's neither here nor there. So phase 3 of the Hunter exam primarily focused on the first of 5 with the Taskmasters. It played out as expected, with Kurapika winning the third match, Leorio losing the fourth, and Killua winning it all as the anchor. Since the rest of the group's descent from the tower wasn't shown, phase 3 felt rather quick. Now that I think about it, it reminds me of the Impel Down arc in One Piece. I'm just glad that it didn't take as long to finish. Phase 4 begins as the examinees get to become both hunter and prey. Seeing as Gon has to steal Hisoka's ID, Volume 4 is going to be pretty exciting.
Back home. And with fireworks outside, hopefully there's fireworks here.
Seeing that it was Independence Day, there was a lot of fireworks outside while I was reading. Instead of being a distraction, that festive energy matched my feelings towards Volume 4. As the fireworks started, the beginning of the volume kept me on the edge of my seat. However, as the night calmed down, so did my excitement when I reached chapter 35. The final part of the Hunter exam was a fighting tournament. Normally, you have to win to progress until there's one victor. With Netero making the rules, it's actually the opposite. There's multiple winners and one loser. The thing that didn't sit well with me was how Gon acted in his match with Hanzo. If Gon doesn't want to give up and earn his victory, he should have done it. Seeing as he couldn't, he doesn't have the right to complain that Hanzo willingly forfeit. Seeing as Killua failed, I'm interested in seeing how it all went down in Volume 5.
Day 5, late night read, baby.
I read a bit later than usual, so I was worried I would be too tired. Luckily, I was able to power through Volume 5. Seeing how Gon is capable of lifting a Lumi like this, that just speaks of how strong Hanzo was during their fight. Killua himself even explains the difference in strength later in the volume. Speaking of Killua, we get introduced to the rest of his family. Now is it just me, or does Killua's dad look like Steven Tyler from Aerosmith? After parting ways from Kurapika and Leorio, Gon and Killua head to the Heavens Arena for some training. I couldn't help but be reminded of Dragon Ball when Gon pushed his opponent out of the ring with ease. So it looks like Volume 6 is going to have some intense fights in this battle tower, and I'm all for it.
The streak is still going strong. July 6th.
Since I have a good chunk of Hunter x Hunter to read for the next few days, I've decided that's the only manga I'll read until I finish Volume 37. So I'll be taking a break from reading manga I read on a weekly basis. So no more One Piece, Akane Manashi, Chainsaw Man, Rui Dragon, and Otear of the Flame. Now on to Volume 6, Gon and Killua finally learn Nen. From what I've heard, Nen is apparently considered the best power system. Based on Wing's real explanation of Nen, I think I get the gist of the basics. Zetsu is a power down, Ren is a power up, Ten is a defensive shield, and I'm assuming Hatsu is using Nen offensively. This all gets put on display in both Gon's fight with Guido and Hisoka's fight with Castro. Day 7 is gonna be crazy.
Day 7. Let's go.
Volume 7 exceeded my expectations. I was kind of right with my thoughts on Hatsu yesterday. It's the type of aura you have with Nen, which in turn affect how you fight in combat. Gon and Killua graduate Wings training, and Gon passes the second part of the Hunter's exam. Now Nen is an integral part to the series, but the star of the volume has to be Ahsoka. He's mastered his abilities, he can fight wearing heels, and it looks like he's a member of the Phantom Troop. This man alone has been a menace since his introduction. I could only imagine what the other members of the troop are capable of. Kurapika certainly has a rough road ahead of her.
Day 8.
It's been a week since I've started reading Hunter x Hunter. Reading a volume a day is the fun and easy part. What I find tedious is recording these segments. Talking about my thoughts on what happened in the volume is cool and all, but there have been days I just want to stop recording and binge the rest of the series. Now, Volume 8 itself is jam-packed with stuff leading up to the next arc. Gon gets his next clue to find his father. That clue ends up being Greed's Island, a very expensive game. This game just so happens to be going up at auction in York New City. Elsewhere, Kurapika was hired as a bodyguard of a flesh collector who wants to get the Scarlet Eyes at the York New auction. Side note, here I am thinking Kurapika is a cool female character holding her own in a Shonen Jump series, only to find out in Volume 8 that he is just one of the boys. Now, not only are a pair of his clan's eyes are at the auction, but so are his targets, the Phantom Troop. Day 9 can't come sooner.
Day 9.
I was having a pretty bad day, but reading Volume 9 lifted my spirits. I've mentioned that Volume 2 made me a fan of the series, but Volume 9 made it one of my favorites. For one, Hisoka is a potential ally against the Phantom Troop. It's not really a twist since he mentioned hunting spiders back in Volume 7, but it was still exciting to see nonetheless. The star of the volume, however, was Kurapika. This was his volume to shine, and he didn't disappoint. Seeing that he had a grudge against them, it was exciting to see Kurapika getting the opportunity to face a member of the Phantom Troop. Unlike the Shadow Beasts, Kurapika was even able to capture Uvagan. The two get to properly face off, and Kurapika is able to hold his own. This is all thanks to his special trait. In his normal state, Kurapika is a conjurer and uses the chains made out of his nen to fight. But when he has his Scarlet Eyes activated, he becomes a specialist who can use 100% of all nen types. The question is, how long will it last? Only Volume 10 will tell.
Day 10.
With Battle Shonen manga, I've gotten used to seeing villains counter or survive attacks that should have killed them. So the fact that Kurapika's powers actually worked against Uvagan is a breath of fresh air. I wish more new gen manga did this instead of dragging out the fight. The story shifts back to Gon, Killua, and the Ario as the three try to find a way to make a lot of money in a short amount of time. Volume 10 is fun because it focuses on the aspects of auctions, going around flea markets or swap meets to find a rare item for sale, placing bids to get them as cheap as possible, getting them appraised to see how much they're worth, and all this work to put it up for auction and try to make a profit. The mood drastically changes as it goes from auctions for money to tracking down members of the Phantom Troop. Gon and Killua follow Machi and Nobunaga only to get captured and brought to their hideout. Fortunately, they use a fact they learned from the world of auction and appraising to escape. I give Volume 10 a 10 out of 10.
Day 11. Let's go.
So last Friday, I had a video scheduled before starting this journey with Hunter x Hunter. But since I've been trying to document my experience and talk about it every day, I haven't had the time to work on other videos other than Pokemon Pocket Shorts. It honestly feels like a weight's been lifted not having to constantly try to upload. I might lose some subscribers, but that just means they weren't a fan to begin with. Speaking of fans, I am a fan of Volume 11. They're seen in Volume 10, but it's officially confirmed that Killua's grandpa and dad were hired by the Mafia to take care of the Phantom Troop. Meanwhile, the troop's leader, Crollo, successfully infiltrates the auction site with Neon Nostrad. All hell breaks loose and Crollo ends up fighting the Zoltics. But behind the scenes, Crollo hired Illumi to kill the Mafia Dons. The Phantom Troop trick everyone into thinking they're dead, only to make away like the bandits they are. Now the scary thing is, Crollo's ability is stealing other people's abilities and using it as his own. By the end of the volume, it's suggested that he stole Neon's abilities to read fortunes. I might not be able to read fortunes, but I can't wait to read Volume 12.
Day 12.
If I were to describe Volume 12, I'd say it's like a game of chess. The Phantom Troop capture Gon and Killua as they make their move to wipe Kurapika off the board. Likewise, Kurapika successfully captures Crollo and prevents Pakunoda from leaking any information to the rest of the troop. So at this point, I'd say both sides are at a stalemate. Now it's been a few volumes since their introduction, but I'm really enjoying the Phantom Troop. They vary in strength, but each member is a threat in their own way. What makes this group scary is that these dangerous individuals are organized and work together. This makes them stand out compared to other enemy organizations in other manga. For example, the Espada and Bleach, though powerful, never actually work together. Likewise, the Katsuki are organized, but they only work together in groups and not as a whole. That said, it doesn't matter how cool the Phantom Troop's teamwork is so long as Hisoka is scheming in the background.
Day 13.
For his first encounter with the Phantom Troop after becoming a hunter, Kurapika did a solid job. He was able to take two of them out and essentially made their leader powerless. Since the rest of the troop is active, I'd say Kurapika won the battle, but the war against them rages on. The story now pivots back to Gon's goal in getting a copy of Greed Island. Since the reward for capturing the Phantom Troop was cancelled, Gon and Killua don't have a feasible way to win the game at auction. Luckily, they don't need to own the game to play it. Gon and Killua offer their service to play Greed Island only to be turned down. They train their Nen and level up to be qualified to play. So Gon enters the game first and finds out his dad made the game with his friends. Not only that, there's no other clues of his whereabouts. To make matters worse, two members of the Phantom Troop are also in the game. Will Gon and Killua make it out alive?
Day 14.
Volume 14 dives deeper into the world of Greed Island, and there's a lot to take in. Nen's still the main power system of the series, but at least for now, it looks like these spells bring in a new set of rules on how to fight. I'm very appreciative of the detailed explanation of how some of the spells work. With all these new rules, Gon and Killua do a bit of training under a girl named Biscuit. This isn't just any ordinary girl, as Biscuit is actually Wing's master. She'll need to whip them into shape as the Phantom Troop have their own agendas in the game. Charlock seems to be the brains, as he deduced that Greed Island could potentially be real instead of VR. What's more, he might have found a way to bring more than 3 items into the real world. This will make defeating the remainder of the troop more difficult for Kurapika in the future.
Day 15.
So my first question is, who the hell is on the cover? I'm assuming it's Biscuit, but it doesn't look like her based on the clothes. Anyway, Gon has started working on his signature move, John Ken Po. It's far from complete, but I can't wait to see it in action. In other news, Killua retakes the Hunter exam and passes. Based on how much he's grown, this outcome was expected. The bomber's identity gets revealed, but I honestly don't care. He looks like a budget sub-boss for Gon and Killua to fight after they finish training. I think the reason I feel this way towards the bomber is because of the Phantom Troop. I'm more invested in them as characters as well as the stuff they're doing. Hopefully, more of them in the next volume.
Day 16.
Volume 16 is a good one. After meeting Ahsoka in-game, Killua was perceptive enough to know that both he and the Phantom Troop are looking for an exorcist on Greed Island. But thanks to Texter's surprise, Ahsoka was able to hide the truth. So as of right now, Abengane is in the most danger. The other key thing is Gon meeting Razor. Seeing that he helped Jing make Greed Island, this is potentially the only clue Gon will have to find his father. If Gon's team wins in a dodgeball match, he might get some answers.
Day 17.
Seeing Ahsoka work together with Gon and Killua felt weird. For a split second, it made me forget that Ahsoka wants to fight Gon to the death. With plot of beach in hand, Genthru makes his move. Even though his abilities might be powerful, I think he's still unimpressive as a villain. I don't care if he's powerful, the man looks like an unpaid intern. Hopefully, Gon gives him a thrashing in the next volume.
Day 18.
First of all, Biscuit's true form is out here looking like a character from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Now, even though Gentru is technically stronger than Gon, he continues to be a massive disappointment. Biscuit reads him like a book and told Gon all the answers before they fought. The only reason Gon got severely injured was because he wanted to test something out. Even with injuries, the plan still worked like a charm. In my opinion, Gentru was a trash villain. Having successfully beaten the game, Gon meets more of his father's friends and is able to bring 3 specified cards to use in the real world. Blue Planet goes to Biscuit, while Paladin's necklace is used to bring an company. He uses it and it leads him to Kite. This is good because this meeting leads Gon and Killua to the next threat in the series. Big ants capable of eating humans.
Day 19.
I like Volume 19 for the fact that it showcased how dangerous the Chimera Ant Colony is. In terms of power, I'd say Gon and Killua are slightly stronger than the officers if they take the fight seriously. If they didn't, they would have ended up like Polk and Ponzu. To make matters worse, the colony is using Polk to learn about Nen. Throw in the fact that Neferpitu killed Kite solidifies how threatening this new enemy is. The 200th chapter is going to be interesting.
Day 20.
There were a few things that stood out for me in Volume 20. The big one has to be Neferpitu's ability. By the looks of it, he could potentially bring creatures back from the dead. This is quite worrisome since he could undo all the work Netero is doing to whittle down the ant colony. There's also the fact that the royal guards have hatched, so the only one that's left is the king. There's also this Gyro character. His background was tragic, but it looks like he won't be a player in this arc. Maybe he'll be a new member of the Phantom Troop when they return. In the meantime, I'm looking forward to Volume 21.
Day 21.
Things are getting wild now in Hunter x Hunter. The queen dies giving birth to Miram, the king of the Chimera Ants. This dude is a menace, and I'm all for it. Within seconds of punching his way out of the queen's womb, he's killing officers on a whim. With Miram's personality and plans to make a meat orchard, to me, it's like if Frieza is trying to make the farm from the Promised Neverland. 10 out of 10 in terms of introducing a villain. Another notable thing that happens in this volume is Killua breaking free from the mental shackles. Killua was a dangerous individual, but he only ever fought opponents weaker than him. If they were slightly stronger, he'd either plan a way to defeat them or avoid battle altogether. So Killua is now willing to fight opponents stronger than him. Finally, Gon gets to see Kite, but he's not looking like himself. Petu basically turned him into a training dummy. This is good motivation for Gon and Killua to take down Petu. Seeing as the fight between Kite and Petu wasn't shown, I'm wondering how Gon and Killua will win.
Day 22.
So I assumed this arc would focus on hunters fighting off the Chimera Ants. I was not expecting to see the Phantom Troop get a piece of the action. Half of Volume 22 is essentially a showcase of the Phantom Troop easily defeating a group of Chimera Ants. Seeing them in action and how they interacted with one another, it honestly felt like they were the good guys. The rest of the volume, Gon gets to fight some foot soldiers while Killua tries to save lives. With the amount of enemies they have to deal with, I'm surprised that more hunters aren't dispatched to help. You'd think an organization would send aid to prevent a crisis from happening, but they're using this opportunity to force Netero to resign as chairman of the Hunter Association.
Day 23. Day 24.
Having two fights in this volume, Moral had a chance to showcase what his abilities can do in combat. Likewise, Nav uses his powers to make entrances and exits for the others to enter the palace. Unfortunately, Nav has lost the will to fight after failing Patu's aura, while Moral is low in energy from all the fighting he's done. Now, the most interesting thing in this volume was Meram and Komugi's relationship. The king of the Chimera Ants considers all other creatures inferior. He'd even strike his own subordinates for trying to help him. But spending his time with Komugi, Meram is starting to care for her. Not only that, he's also starting to question his purpose in life. I'm just speculating, but could this bond he has be a chink in his armor?
Day 25.
What's interesting is the fact that the invasion is being narrated. Narration boxes do pop up from time to time in manga, but I've never seen it to this extent. I didn't mind it, but I also didn't think it was necessary based on the art and paneling in this volume. Now Netero has finally made his move. Like all other old men in battle shonen manga, Netero is without a doubt a powerhouse in his own right. That said, I like the fact that he called Zeno to back him up. It not only shows that Netero isn't too prideful to ask for help, but how dangerous the enemy is. Speaking of the enemy, a kinder side of Meram is shown. During the invasion, Komugi gets severely injured. Instead of lashing out and losing control, Meram handles the situation in a stoic manner. He even suggests to change locations to fight Netero and Zeno. But with the matchups finally set, Volume 26 is looking like it'll have the best fights in the series.
Day 26.
So after 26 days trying to document my Hunter x Hunter experience, I finally ran into a small problem. I seem to be running out of space on my external hard drive. This was a good excuse for me to transfer the footage and audio into the new hard drive I just bought. Unfortunately, I couldn't use it. This is just adding on to some stressful stuff that's been happening as of late. As a result, I didn't even finish reading Volume 26 on camera.
Day 27.
I honestly don't see how the hunters win this arc. With Moral deactivating his smoky jail, Poof is now free to roam the battlefield. This is not the ideal outcome, but Moral was now able to assist Knuckle in his fight with Yuppie. Even with Yuppie's new form, everything was set for his defeat. They just needed to survive until Knuckles' abilities take effect. But as you all know, that didn't happen. So now another royal guard is headed his way towards the king. Speaking of the king, he is making Netero's attacks look like nothing. Maybe Volume 28 will turn the tide to the hunter's side.
Day 28.
So, regarding the king's name, in Volume 21, it was spelled Meryem. I think it's pronounced Maryam, though I might have said Mayram a few times in the video. Fast forward in Volume 28, and apparently the spelling of his name is actually Meruem. Seeing as my copies of Hunter x Hunter are reprints from 2021 and 2022, I find it strange that Viz couldn't correct the spelling in Volume 21. Now, how the fight ended between Netero and Maryam felt lackluster. Netero has landed over 1,000 hits with his 100 type Guanyin Bodhisattva, and it had no effect. He uses Zero Hand after losing an arm and a leg, which only causes minor injuries to Maryam. So the attacks that took years of training to master had little to no effect, but a man-made bomb was able to severely injure Maryam. Not only does he survive, he also is getting healed by Poof and Yuppie. With Netero dead, how are the hunters going to win?
Day 29.
I'll just go down the list of things that stood out to me this volume. First off, Mayram is basically fully recovered with a bit of amnesia. He's dangerous either way, but I wonder if remembering Komugi will benefit humanity's survival. I'm guessing it does since there's still more volumes to read. Poof, on the other hand, is using this opportunity to get rid of Komugi. If she's out of the picture, Mayram will revert back to a violent monster. Luckily, Killua is able to protect Komugi from Poof. Even though Poof fails, he uses his abilities to get Batu to fight Gon. At first, this situation looks terrible. Not only is Batu stronger, Gon is having a mental breakdown with Kite's death. I don't know how he did it, but with the power of puberty, Gon easily defeats Batu. What's more surprising is Yuppie was also defeated. With 2 of the royal guards dead, there's only 2 more hurdles until victory.
Day 30.
So the Chimera Ant arc ends not with an epic battle, but with Maryam being poisoned and regaining his memory. He spends the remaining time he has playing Gungi with Komugi. Thinking about it now, what made the relationship interesting was the fact that a blind girl changed how Maryam saw things. This fact made chapter 318 all the better. Switching our attention to Gon, his adult form took a toll on his body. The amount of nen he used to get his revenge on Batu put him on life support. This was all for the sake of Kite's death, but it looks like Kite was reborn as a Chimera Ant. So is this new Kite still a hunter? Also, will she have old Kite's powers? Hopefully we get those answers soon. Finally, with Netero's death, a new chairman for the Hunters Association needs to be appointed. In comes the Zodiacs, the 12 strongest hunters. They will be in charge of overseeing who becomes the new chairman. Among the 12 is Gon's father, Jing. The fact that he predicted the outcome of how the negotiation with the other Zodiacs would go, this is a real good showing of Jing as a hunter.
Day 31.
With Gon out of commission, it looks like Killua will be taking the helm of Hunter x Hunter for the time being. I honestly don't mind, since his family dynamic has gotten more interesting with the introduction of Alika. But I think this just makes things worse for Gon. Maybe it's just me, but Gon has felt less and less like the protagonist. I found myself more invested in the story when it followed characters like Kurapika in the York New City arc, or right now with Killua in this current arc. I will say, when it comes to Gon, I am more interested on the situation with his adult form rather than him meeting up with his father.
Day 32.
August just started, but Volume 32 felt like Hunter x Hunter ended. Cheeto becomes the new chairman of the Hunter organization, officially replacing Netero. Gon gets fully healed thanks to Nanika and achieves his goal and meets Jing. Speaking of goals, it looks like Killua's goal is to protect Alika. Even chapter 339 hinted to the series ending with a montage of characters Gon has met on his journey. With Togashi's health, I could see why he would end the series there. But with the introduction to the Dark Continent and Netero's son, it looks like there's still more to the story. Only 5 more volumes left until I'm caught up with the physical manga.
Day 33.
The new arc just started, and I could see Togashi was firing on all cylinders. It's pretty much a race between the Zodiacs and beyond Netero to explore the Dark Continent. The creatures that live there also happen to be more dangerous than the Chimera ants. Case in point, Nanika is the gaseous life form called Ai. Putting that to the side for now, Gon has been living up to his name. Since he lost his ability to use Nen, it looks like he might be gone from the story for a little while. Luckily, both Leorio and Kurapika have become the newest members of the Zodiacs. While Leorio will get some much needed experience as part of the medical team, Kurapika is on the final stretch with achieving his goals. 4 more volumes to go.
Day 34.
In my opinion, Chrollo vs. Hisoka is the best fight in the entire series so far. Not only do we get the entire fight with no interruptions, this is one of the few fights where both combatants are of equal level. Seeing as Kurapika should be the one to put an end to Chrollo, it wasn't a surprise that Hisoka lost. Thinking that this was the last time we'd see him, I was shocked to see he revived himself using bungee gum. So back from the dead, Hisoka's new goal is to hunt down all the members of the Phantom Troop. There's other stuff that happens, but this fight alone made Volume 34 my current favorite in the series. Only 3 more to go.
Day 35.
So based on what I just read, it looks like Kurapika will be the protagonist for the Succession Contest arc. His target is the 4th Kakin Prince, who has the last remaining eyes of Kurapika's clan. If he focused solely on his personal mission, I believe it would be easy for him to complete. But that's not the case. Kurapika is tasked with protecting the youngest Kakin prince, Wobble, and Queen Oito from potential assassination from the other princes. If that's not bad enough, Chrollo is also on board and might stir up some trouble. Only volume 36 and 37 to go.
Day 36.
With all the characters and situations happening in this arc, it's starting to feel a bit congested. Seeing as we're spending so much time with Kurapika, I'm invested in his situation. In regards to the 14 children of the Kekken family, I only care about the 4 eldest children and Wobble. Now the story is introducing the illegitimate side of this royal family. This is honestly a nice twist to the battle for the throne. But there's also the stuff regarding the Phantom Troop. All the members are there, including their newest member, Illumi. Their current objective is to hunt down Hisoka, who is also a passenger. With how deadly all these characters are, I feel like this whole situation could have been its own arc. If that's not enough, the Zodiacs, Beyond, and Jing could still get involved. Only one more volume left.
The final day.
Reading Hunter x Hunter for 37 days was quite the experience. It slowly became a part of my daily routine and was something I look forward to. Now that I'm all caught up, it'll feel a bit weird not being able to read the next volume until it comes out. As a newer fan to the series, I finally understand why the older fans of Hunter x Hunter put it on a pedestal. All in all, this series gets 2 thumbs up from me. If you made it this far, suggest some manga you think is better than Hunter x Hunter. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.